Okay, is this thing is working? Doesn't have the oomph. Okay, I'd like to call our meeting to order. Town of Southington Board of Finance meeting. Today's January 8th, 2025. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We'll do the roll call, please. Just do it off the top of the agenda, Chris.
Mr. Lebenik?
Here.
Mr.
Here.
Mr.
Here.
Ms. Mazzarella? Mr. Sanford?
Present.
Here. Okay, all six of us are here. We have a quorum. There are no public hearing items tonight, so I'd like to move to the approval of the December 11th, 2024 minutes that are included in the packet. Do we have a motion to approve?
So approved, so moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any amendments to those minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? The minutes carry 6-0, and they are now approved. We're going to do quickly what we got to add a couple things to the order. We'll do our assessment of the town, and then we'll move up, if everybody's okay with that, then we'll move up the fire department discussion. 8 o'clock sharp, we have to stop our meeting and break because we have somebody dialing in for an executive session on legal matters. And then we'll come back and get into things. So we'll try and move up the dogs, and we'll move up the fire department as fast as we can. First thing I want to do is we have to introduce our new finance director for the town of Southington, and we're very, very happy that we found a good finance director, and we're looking forward to a good relationship together. So, Chrissy, if you could just take a minute and introduce yourself to the folks here on the board and also to our great audience in the world that everybody comes in to stream our video, our meetings.
Sure.
You can pull, we got to pull these things way up because I get a call if we don't.
Okay. Do I sound better now?
Sandy? Can we turn that up a little bit?
It's on the max volume, I think, John.
It's what?
It's on the max volume.
Oh,
Thank you. Good evening.
evening.
My name is Christina. I come from the state of Connecticut. I have 20 years there. Most of my career was with the Connecticut State Police, along with Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, along with DEMIS, as well as Department of Corrections. In those departments, I served many different capacities, starting from the bottom of the career ladder, moving my way up. I worked in pretty much all of the different fiscal departments, including AP and AR, grants and contracts. Most of my career was with budget and accounting, so I really look forward to taking my knowledge that I learned from the state and applying it here in the town of Southington. I'm also a resident of the town of Southington, born and raised here, so I really look forward to contributing to the town.
Welcome. Great. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. What we normally do, I guess you've looked at the agenda, so I won't, go through it in depth. We normally take a look at the health of the town. Then we get into subcommittee reports where different members here are assigned to different town council subcommittees, and we get a financial report back. We don't want to know everything that's going on, but anything that impacts finances we go to. Then we have some on Board of Finance, our own little committees that are not town council committees. Then we have board communications where we talk to each other. Somebody might want to add something to the agenda or say they went somewhere just to bring something up. Then we get into initiatives, and then if we have an executive session, we put it in, and then we get into the regular business, the consent agendas where we just take money received and apply it to the line where it could be spent. That's kind of a in and out, usually completely approved process. And then we have requests for transfers and appropriations. So that's how it goes. And let's start. So what I want to do is do the financial assessment and then bring the fire department up and the dog pound up, because people are here for that. And then if they want to stay, they can. If not, we could get on with the rest of our meeting. It's always a public meeting, so anybody could stay, but we got to be appreciative and aware of people's time. Okay. Review the financial assessment of the town as to where we are. Our fiscal year starts July 1. Here we are sitting here on January 8th. So we're going to ask ourselves to take a look at how we're doing on revenue. And there should be something in our packet regarding revenue, right?
Now, Mr. Chairman, the month of December is not yet closed. There's a lot of vacations, a lot of folks in many departments who are, not just the finance office, who are responsible for reconciling the records, if you will, before I put together the summary for you, for your meeting. So the revenues, there's only one department, frankly, that we analyzed that had the stuff, the information available for us to do, and even through yesterday, they are not yet completed. So we'll get that off to you as soon as they are. I didn't see any problems off the top of my head during the month, and we had the last month, of course, where we were showing things that were doing better than expected in several of the major areas that we normally concentrate on.
Any questions there? We'll just hold the same report from last month, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I can get it out, and also working with Christina a little bit, just going over what this board has asked for in the past. We have not, frankly, even had a chance to do that yet. She just came on board Monday, and I'm on a limited basis by statute. So
Okay.
just trying to work those into the things. And we also started our budget meetings with the town manager and the various departments who are making that. So Christina's coming in at a very good point in time in our budget cycle, right at the beginning. So, but we'll
Let's
get
flip
that out to you.
into expenditures. I don't know if you're ready on that one, Christina, or if you... Yeah, so what we usually... That's fine.
There's
What
only
we
there's
usually
only really
look at
one
right
item.
now is where, if we
One
see
item.
any expense that's of a concern to us, any deviation to plan, any deviation to budget.
So there's only one big issue, and Jim and Chrissy, in your packet for action tonight, it's the AMR issue. I briefed the council and I briefed the Board of Finance on this when the town looked to apply to change its piece out to bid several years ago. We had Hunters, I believe Hartford Healthcare, town Hunters. Asked, I know I've come to you, and Mr. Schroeder, a lot of transfers because of this issue. This should be the last time I come to you for a request, and it's coming from Corporation Counsel's salary item was still not filled into legal fees, just moving it down.
And the question we have, because we're doing it all piecemeal, what was the total cost of our side of the litigation?
We don't have the full tally, but we're just under $200,000.
Okay, so 200 total. All right.
It was Hartford Healthcare, which bought Hunters, not just Mr.
We're going to ask if you could make a note, Christina, for the February meeting. We're asking the chair of the ambulance committee to come and to talk to us, to brief us not only on what's going on with the contract, but also what our vision is for coverage. He knows this, but we just have to get it on the agenda. So on the agenda, we'll have a line item to meet in open session with the ambulance committee chair and talk about ambulances.
Would you like that under board communications, Mr. Chairman?
No, on its own line, maybe under the strategies. No, item number 9.
Perfect.
And he knows to come, but we'll have to, one of the things, just so you know, we put something on the agenda, we always ask the finance department to reach out and contact the person and make sure everything is good. So not only put it on the agenda, but also reach out to the chair and make sure they're aware and somebody can come. And if they can't, then we talk to me, and we'll change it, we'll move it. I don't want to inconvenience anybody, but I think everybody here needs an update on what our vision is with the ambulances, how many are running, how many we want to run, what's the potential cost. It's a finance issue. Okay. So, capital projects. Do we have something there? I see it, it's a little grayed out, but it says,
Yes, we do.
we do, okay.
Let's see, that's in item 5, Roman numeral 5, number 4. It's your typical quarterly. This is for the quarter ended 12/31/2024. It's a 2-pager, as you can see, and it shouldn't look too much different than everything that you've seen every quarter from here on in. But I'll just, if I could, just direct your attention to page 2 of 2. And you'll see year-to-date 24-25 in the expenditures column. You'll see a little over $20.5 million expended since July 1st.
Okay,
And a couple of columns over from that encumbered, another almost $5 million encumbered. In other words, we've got purchase orders out for either construction services, et cetera, et cetera. So between the two, we're pushing 26 million in only 6 months. So it's been very busy. There's a lot of construction. There's a lot of municipal projects that are going on. The library, obviously, the one that folks noticed a lot more, but also the downtown Plantsville area. That project, most of that funded by the federal government. But there's also quite a few other ones, as you can see from the amounts. that
yeah,
are
the
being
purchase
spent.
of the Bank of America building for $2 million.
That's on there as well, yes. So if there's any questions, fire away.
The real question is just the management of the list. So you go through the list, you look at what was appropriated, what was authorized, you look at what was spent, you look at the remaining balance, then you look at the project. If the project's still open, so be it. But at some point, the project closes, we just want to make sure you
Absolutely.
you close out each line item. That's the key.
We close out, at year end, towards year end, our typical process is that we send a memo out to the departments that are involved. Obviously, the chief players being Public Works, Recreation sometimes, and sometimes police and fire if they have something going on within their buildings that are capitalized. And we'll just say, hey, how you doing? What's the status? What you just asked for, basically, Mr. Chairman, to say, what's the status? And when do you expect completing it? Are you complete? Is this done? And if it is, at the end of that fiscal year, when we close the books for the year, if you will, we close out that.
And when do you capitalize the asset?
We capitalize the asset
Is it
through
upon completion?
both. It's during construction in progress and during, and when it is completed. So it goes on in stages as we're moving along.
So it'll
Unless
sit in
it's-
CIP and then become
Yeah,
an asset and begin depreciation once it's complete.
correct.
Are all of these items, these are all capital items, right? So they'd all be subject to,
They're not all. Some of the items that are, I call them advanced maintenance, like a lot of the road maintenance, especially the ones that are funded by the Town Aid Road Grant from the state and the LoSiP grant from the state. A lot of those are, they're not total reconstructive type of items that you would capitalize, but there are items on here. There's obviously the Bank of America purchase, that's,
so it's a mix then?
It is
Some
a
of these
mix,
items will be expense items or paid
Correct.
by others, paid by a grant.
correct.
And since the fire department's here, they should know, as I scroll through here, a lot of these items are, not a lot, a chunk of them are fire department-related items too, as well as everything else.
They're heavy vehicles, yeah, they're the pumpers, the aerial trucks, if they're still out there.
Yeah,
And sometimes there is a multi-year funding of one of those large
yeah,
vehicles.
radios, pumpers, I can't sort it.
But
It's
the pumpers and
not
stuff
sortable.
like that are financed usually over 2 or 3 years, 4 years sometimes, depending upon
Okay.
the funding strategy tied into where the fire department, or Public Works sometimes, if it's a heavy-duty vehicle, needs the item.
Any questions on this list? Guess we could always ask in an email if we, excuse me. Okay. Moving along, no significant, before we get into the subcommittee reports, I'd like a motion, number one, to move the dog pound item up. It comes to us, we have a hand-delivered memo. It's $9,000 for the animal control building maintenance account. I just want to move that up in the agenda so we could take care of that one first, at least take care of the discussion. It'll come up later. Actually, it won't, right? This is it. We have to take care of it all now. Okay, is somebody make a motion to move the Department of Police animal control item up to right now on the agenda?
Make a motion to move the,
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're going to move the animal control building maintenance account up, and what we have a memo here from the police department, from the chief. They're looking for an appropriation to be made to the animal control building maintenance account for $9,000, and it has to do with a partnership between the Friends of Animal Control and how much money they raised, where they are with the project, and what they need from the town to complete it. So I have Sue Zamonski here representing the Friends of Animal Control, and could tell us a little bit about what the private sector has done, and then you can tell us also the need from the public.
Sure.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. I'm Sue Zabahansky, 28 Working Street, and treasurer of Friends of Southington Animal Control. We're a private 501c3 that was established with the permission of the chief to work in conjunction with Southington Animal Control to help primarily vet the animals that come in so they can get veterinary care. So we have, if an animal comes in injured, we've taken on those vet bills to get them done, so it doesn't have to come out of the budget, the veterinary budget that the animal control is allocated, which is minute. One hit by car would pretty much wipe out the veterinary budget that the Southington Animal Control has. So we have spent thousands of dollars annually vetting dogs. We have done a lot of improvements at the dog pound, landscaping. We've put in a washer and dryer, and paid for the washer and dryer and the installation. And we've put in several outdoor enclosures so that the dogs can have outdoor time. And we've funded those through donations from the public, private donors, and grants. For this particular project, we raised $31,396 that we used to purchase glass front doors that have swing-out bowls systems for a number of reasons: health, sanitary reasons, protection for animal control officers who might have an aggressive dog come in. It allows them to feed the dog without having to, enter into the cage. And just sanitary, it also improves the lives of the dogs there because it keeps the noise down. So there's a few reasons why we made the purchase. Also, there has been an unfunded mandate passed down from the state, and that would be HB 5575. It was Public Act number 23-138, which requires us to change the doors out because our current doors now don't meet the regulations. So we've, in essence, saved the town $31,396 to replace the doors. And we spoke with Brian Lepard, who is in charge of the Southington Animal Control, and he thought that they should be installed by the town for a number of reasons: liability, make sure that they're installed properly, if there's any damage done to the wall, the brick walls that it can be, fixed and that they're secured and fastened properly for liability issues. So I think the town did put it out to bid. We only had one bidder. It's someone who's done work at the dog pound in the past. He put in guillotine doors. And this gentleman can only, so we raised the funds for these doors between 2023. We finished the project and we ordered the doors, and the doors have been sitting there since May of last year. So we're hoping to get them installed as quickly as possible. The person who bid it, that bid's going to expire. He also only offered us that bid if he could do it during the winter months. If he has to do it during the summer months, it's going to increase substantially. So
And that's for $9,000 to install them. How many-
9,000. He
how
actually
many
gave us
pens are there?
$3,000. It's 15 doors, and then there's end pens. There's four end pens that actually have to have like walls installed as well, because it's all fencing currently. So there's fencing on each end.
How many
there's-
dogs could we hold over there? How many pens?
It varies. This summer, we were really booked. We had up to 14 dogs at one time.
What's capacity? How many pens do we have?
So we've funded to do 15 pens. There are other pens, but also the state regulations have changed that some of those pens are too small. So we use those for storage right now. So
Okay.
basically, it's 15.
Do we have about 15?
About
pens?
15 usable pens, yeah.
Okay. Any
anyone
questions while we're in this discussion mode, and then we'll go to a
Chairman,
motion?
just for our sake, where's the money coming from? Is it coming from
Appropriation from contingency.
Contingency?
It transferred from contingency.
Okay.
It wasn't made clear. I was going to bring that up. There's no money to appropriate.
I just had a quick question. Oh, first off, thanks for what your organization does for the pets
Yeah,
in the
sure.
town. I'm just curious, how much does your organization raise, like, on an average year?
So we're only 3 years young, so it has varied greatly, and a lot of it is grants from major grant holders like New Britain. So it really, it's fluctuated so much, but from the public, when we have drives, it
Yeah.
varies. Some people, like with this particular project, we actually had various members of the community donate a door, so they would pay, they paid the full amount for the cost of one door. Yep, and then we also had partnered with the Greater New Britain Foundation, Rotary Club, multiple other clubs. And this is the other thing, it's kind of holding us up from applying for more grants, because we've put out three enclosures, outdoor big enclosures like exercise pens. There was one there, but we split it in half and put fencing and new gates. And we're looking to put artificial turf in there. So that's our next big project for next year.
So Alex, the budget for this, what do we give? Like you said, around 9,000 a year? Is that what it is?
No, it's just a one-time
It's a
expenditure.
one-time thing. Oh, it's not an annual?
No.
So it's my understanding that the Friends of Animal Control fundraised for the glass doors, which are
Yeah.
very expensive. There was no fundraising, and the fundraising wasn't successful for the installation. So we bought the car part, they fundraised for the car parts, but they don't have a mechanic, they haven't paid the mechanic to install them. That's what we're here for.
One time, 9,000.
One-time, 9,000, yeah.
Well, we definitely want to take care of it because town not too far from here made a lot of bad mistakes.
Well, it is state mandated now to change these doors. I mean, by 2029, the doors are sitting there already.
Good thing to get it done.
Yeah, and we've saved the town $31,396. And who knows how much more with, now with inflation, how much these doors have gone up.
Would somebody like to make a motion? We can go back to discussion, but a motion to approve the use of $9,000 from the contingency to the animal control building maintenance account?
I'll make a motion to approve the $9,000 from the contingency to the animal control build and maintenance account.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, we'll go back to discussion. Any further discussion? Again, this is a one-time, not changing the budgets, one time to get the doors that have been sitting there installed. And all of your work, Sue, is for the Southington Animal Control, whether it's a dog, a cat, it's all
Southington.
local.
Everything's for Southington, yep. And we also do support community services by providing dog food and supplies to try and keep animals out of Southington Animal Control Facility,
Okay.
to try and keep them in their homes, so we
But it's
do
all
that as
about
well.
Southington.
Southington
And
exclusively.
how many backing groups are there for animal control, other than the town that runs the department? Is there only one? Is it only this group called the Friends of Animal Control, or is there anything
Friends of
else?
Southington Animal Control, yeah. So there is Southington Animal Rescue, and she does primarily the cats, though we have helped her also with fundraising for cats. We've done like 2 cats this year. But Southington Animal Rescue does all the cats. Susan Mazer runs that, and
Heard the name.
she will take any cat that's injured that comes to animal control, and she takes care of those primarily.
Any
with our
further
help.
discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Sue, thank you for being
Thank you.
here.
Appreciate
Tell
it.
everybody, I don't know all the names of the people on the board, but some of them are also on town council, right? You have a town council member on there, you have,
Actually, no. So Val DiPaolo runs the volunteer program, which
Okay.
also saves the town a lot of money because, and everyone on our board is on that volunteer list too. So whenever an ACO is sick or
Okay.
on vacation, we take care of the animals. Yep.
oh, that's another aspect. You have Mr.
Another-
Serafino on there?
Ron Serafino, Kitty Laconis, and Victoria Triano.
Okay. All right, so thank everybody for their work.
Yep.
Thank the donors.
Yep.
This is approved.
Okay,
So
great.
very soon, you could work with whoever you work with, Mr.
Okay.
Lepard, and get these doors installed.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. Also like a motion to move up the fire department discussion. Something's wrong with my agenda, the backside. Move up the fire department discussion to now.
I make a motion to move.
Second,
Any, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's move up our fire department discussion. Okay, it's very generic. Discussion regarding fire department updates. So, we've all seen, there's stuff on the media, there's stuff at the fire commission meeting. We're happy to have, we have with us the chief, the assistant chief, and we have the chair, Ed Costello, the chair of the Southington Fire Commission, all here to explain what's going on, what we may encounter as requests come to us, and we have a chance to start this discussion. We also have a lieutenant, a couple of firefighters with us to be part of the conversation if need be. So thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing folks along. Just give us an overview of where we are and what we could expect on the finance side.
Yep, so in general, as you know, changes to the CMERS program are not forcing, but having people look a little bit more honestly at retiring earlier than they used to if they had hit their 25-year max. It's all based on the COLA. I'm sure you're very well versed in it. We had one individual retire in October. That position was replaced. We have another individual retiring at the end of this month, early February. That replacement is in play. However, I have 2 to 3.
Let me stop for a second.
Nope.
This speaker thing is not as loud as it should be. Somebody's going to call and say they can't hear. Is there anybody? I know you said, Jim, the volume was up. Hello? Oh, did it change anything?
Yeah, it's louder.
Okay, good. All right. That'll help with the recording and everything else. Thank you.
Nope, not a problem. So into that regard, I have verbal commitments or one other another additional person that has actually dropped his papers with HR. I have 3 retirements in June that are occurring at the end of June, earlier than they anticipated. And there's still wiggle room for a couple more, but I think we're pretty solid with those 5. So with that, with contract language replacement, individuals having to go to the Connecticut Fire Academy for 15 weeks, we're looking at long-term vacancies that would cost in excess, 2 people into the academy for replacing that vacancy for the 15 weeks is an approximate area of $75,000, $80,000 unbudgeted. And we're going to see that in the spring, and we were going to see that in the fall. Working with the chair and the commission, we were looking to hire in advance of those vacancies, put 4 through the academy now this spring, and it starts on February 10th. That would offset fiscal year 25-26 overtime in the fall for that $75,000. Through discussions with the board, we were not changing our staffing plan based on the options that were provided. We're going to maintain our current staffing matrix staffing plan as it is. So while the 2 individuals, again, we're forward-looking and backwards-looking, are in the academy, we will be replacing those to the tune of about $75,000 in unbudgeted overtime. And I know I came here last.
You have people in, I don't go back, I don't mean to cut you off, but just more have a discussion. Do you have people, if you put up hiring, you opened up hiring, do you have people you think ready to be hired?
Yes, we run a list every 2 years. We
You
do
what?
we do an entry-level list every 2 years.
Okay.
We do a written exam, oral exam, and we.
Oh, so people are in a queue?
People are already in the queue.
Okay.
So we can pick off the list and hire. We've given 2 conditional offers to individuals already for the additional 2 in advance of the vacancies for June that have accepted. So that's our plan there. We are moving forward in the next month or 2, probably to do a certified lateral list, people that have the Connecticut Fire Academy already, because that's per contract, and EMT as well, to try and alleviate having to send them to the Fire Academy in the future for any other potential retirements. Again, you were there Thursday night. I speak fast. I apologize. So that's where we are now. Again, I was here last month requesting that one transfer to offset the wage impact of the contract language. I am fairly confident right now we're looking at about $79,000 to $102,000 shortfall. I can handle between 60 and 80% of that internally. I've spoken with the town manager in my chair. My plan is to try and manage 100% of that internally with internal transfers. I do not like coming back asking for money. It's not my favorite thing to do. So that's where we're at now in terms of potential costs going forward. I'll have a clear idea of that closer towards April Harvard budget reallocation time to see if I can manage that entire chunk internally without having to come back to the board for money.
And Alex, normally, we have a precedent of helping fire, police hire in advance of the retirement and get somebody in training, so when the retirement occurs, we have somebody ready to go. How do we know how much of that we can do?
So I work with the police and the fire.
Bring the mic up a little closer.
I work with the police and fire chiefs, and they bring me the proposal. We look at their salary items, we look at their other, as Chief Heath said, he's looking internally at different line items where he can move funds to cover those costs. We know that they are, and we can't technically add additional bodies, but I can authorize temporarily going up to quote-unquote backfill in
Yep.
anticipation of retirements. We've done it with the police a few times this year. Chief Heath and I worked together to do it in October of this past year. So we haven't done it a lot over the past few years, but with the CMERS changes coming down the pike, we've realized that we've got to take some more aggressive actions to plan for these anticipated overtime short.
But if you don't take these actions, somebody retires, and then you start hiring then, and there's a 13-week, not even, worse than 13 weeks, because wait till the academy starts, then 13 weeks. You're leaving the team short a person for a long time.
And that's not a good position to be in
No.
for any public safety positions.
That was one of the concerns we'd all discussed in October, and finally getting this ball rolling. We will also have available money in our regular salary line item. Unfortunately, we have an individual out on long-term comp, and as you know, workers' comp replaces that salary piece to a certain percentage, I think 75% to the town, so we'll have some funds there in order to absorb additional costs for the additional salaries as well. So additional salaries for the 2 people we're bringing on early, about $35,000 per person, or $70,000 for the 5-month period, and then that'll offset in
And the
July.
person who comes on early, assuming it's not a lateral transfer of a trained firefighter, if somebody comes on early and they're going to the academy, the chance of them really having overtime and all the extra, they'll have benefits, they'll have salary, but overtime will be extremely minimal for them
Overtime will be minimal for them.
at that stage. in
At
their
that
career.
stage, they'll incur a little bit of overtime in the academy for when they do have night classes that go past their regularly scheduled shift, but it's a minimal, Scott Teacher's up there, 3 to 4 hours a week at the max
Okay.
per individual, so.
And we're okay, Alex, on our end? So this discussion is, I just want to make sure there's nothing, no action for us here.
This is something I authorize, the chiefs request it, and we discuss it, and I authorize it. It's nothing that requires a official vote. of
Only
any-
come here if you needed more money than a transfer would allow.
Correct, and we don't pre-authorize, I don't authorize these issues if we believe we're going to need.
Yeah, and one of the points here is, if we have extra retirements because of MERS, we have extra holes to fill. This may require more than just like we see at the police, so they want to hire one in anticipation of a retirement. If MERS is, the structure of MERS is triggering more retirements, we may be back or front-loading more, this could even happen on police, more police and firefighters than we have in the past. And it won't be one or two, it might be 4 on each side, something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, for us, it's, for, municipal employees and MERS, it's fairly easy for me as chief to project. If somebody's at their 25, that's when I kind of start asking, knowing people, I'm like, hey, I want to do 30, I'm still young type of thing. I mean, I have it's almost 26 years, I'm only 49, so my plan's are not to go anywhere. But, you have to have that forward-looking conversation with individuals of like, hey, that way you can start planning for those known vacancies, so. Why are you laughing, Wayne? 49. 49.
I heard 20. That's why I laughed.
Wish I was 29.
Sorry.
And outside of that, one of our other strategies going forward, you'll see in the budget request is we'd like the permission to pursue a SAFER grant again. This SAFER grant that we're under now runs out in January 22nd of this month. So we're looking to pursue another SAFER grant for additional 3 individuals. We are putting
The
one.
SAFER grant runs out, but we
have to
of
reapply.
course keep those
You're
3
keeping those
individuals. They're
individuals,
part of
yes, sir. All part
our
of the budget.
team.
Yep.
This is seeking another 3, and what I heard was 3 plus 1.
3 plus 1 out of the operating budget. Like I mentioned at the meeting on Thursday night, that it reads a little bit better on the federal level in terms of people that are looking at the grant to approve it, that the town is throwing an additional investment in on top of the federal funds. So that's what we're looking at. So, I mean, that's a cost of about, first year, about $408,000 for the 3 individuals. And in retrospect, our last SAFER grant was $1.18 million. This one will be $1,252,000. So for the 3 years, salary and benefits 100% covered, so.
So when it comes to the SAFER grant, that, you would apply for that, what, in the fall?
I anticipate that the funding, notice of funding opportunity to come out and the grant to open up in February. By federal fiscal year ends in September 30th, so that's when awards have to be announced.
Okay.
So that's when the awards are announced. If we're successful, again, it's a very competitive process. It's about a 10% chance.
10% per person, you think? Or
Just
all
10%
three?
overall. They tip,
three.
if it's a large request, if I'd gone in for 21 people, they have a tendency to negotiate down
Yeah,
based on available
right.
money. With 3, not so.
10% chance, we won it 3 times.
We have won it. We have very-
Rejected it once and took it twice,
We
right?
rejected it twice, we took it once.
Okay.
We have very talented grant writers. We have a express need. We know how to express that need and get that across. Again, if we're lucky the 4th time, we're lucky the 4th time. But with this hiring process, if we get it, they'll be onboarded in January to hit the academy. I won't have them on the roster till fiscal year 26, 27. So they really won't start on the roster in operations till about June of 26. So
So there's a good chance, if you get rejected, it might be knocked down to 1 or 2.
I would.
Not like all 3 get.
I would think they'd reject all 3 with
they would?
that small amount, because you need to hit certain parameters,
Okay.
whether it's a reduction in overtime, whether it's an increased staffing to get to the 1710 requirement of 4 per truck. Those are some of the high priority items they look for in terms of the grant application.
And just the 4 people would actually add 1,
Would add 1 person per shift, yeah.
so even though it's 4 people, you think you're getting all these people, you're really getting 1 person.
We're only getting 1 person per shift, correct?
Yeah.
So,
And then I guess you'll have to sit down, look at the shifts, and decide how it all works, because that'll give you 4 people on one truck, 3 on the other, 24/7.
yes, sir.
And then you still have your 3 day guys on roughly 9 to 5.
Yes, that is correct, yeah. And that would
This
probably,
just puts, let's just say you decide to put them all at headquarters company, this puts 4 firefighters. It adds 1 to the 3 that are already at headquarters company 24/7.
correct, and then and aligning with the contract language to try and maintain 3 on that truck as majority of the time, there would be a additional.
So one of
over-
these new SAFER plus one of these new 4 calls out, you'll run with 3, but if everybody shows up to work, you'll run with 4 on that one apparatus.
Correct.
But
Depending,
the second apparatus is still sitting with 3.
still sitting with 3, yes, sir.
And the third, company 3,
Well-
is still sitting there only operating days.
Correct.
Only 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
Correct. We would need a total of 9 new firefighters in order to have the 3 station staffed 24/7. But that'll adjust a portion of the staffing issue that's been at large. Won't necessarily adjust, that lovely word of overtime. It'll actually increase it. What we need to have is enough staffing on a truck in order to drop down. We need almost 4, we wouldn't need almost, we would need 4 per truck in order to not replace the first 3 out, to, substantiate and stabilize that overtime piece, and bring that number down, to a more reasonable number, so. I mean, 600,000 is not unreasonable in my mind, but, if I could get that back down to the 500 mark where it was for several years, that would be the goal. But again, it all depends. I've mentioned it before, depends on
Yeah.
which purse you want to put that money in, so.
So Chief, I know you talked about this before. So the size of Southington, what would be the recommended size of the staff?
13.9. So according to NFPA, they did a this 5th needs assessment survey in 2021. Average career on-duty staffing for a community our size, 25,000 to 50,000, or 49.99, is 13.9. We run 7, so we're half of that. 10 or 7. If it's daytime, it's 10. Nighttime, nights and weekends, it's 7.
How about
so.
overall numbers? Like your staff is what, 36?
We had 37, but that includes, three individuals in the fire marshal's office, the assistant chief, and myself, as well as the training officer. Operationally, I have 31.
So what would be the normal, like 50? Like the full staff, if you had,
What's 13 times 4? 52. 52. That would give us 13 per shift, and we could still incorporate a replacement strategy in that as well, and be a little bit more self-sufficient.
all right.
Need
And that
20
would staff all 3 stations
24/7
24/7 with 4 on a truck,
and drop
4 on an apparatus, whatever it's called, 4 on a truck.
4 on a truck and be able
And
to.
then no backfill. You'd run with 3 if you had to. Your chance of backfilling drops unless 2 call out.
No, we'd have to, unless 3 would have to call out.
Okay,
So I would have, my theory would not to be replace the first 3 out, or maybe not the first 2, depending on call volume and strategy. I would love to keep the ladder truck at 4, just because the technical piece of apparatus that is. And that, we'd stabilize that overtime piece. We'd still be a little bit more self-sufficient. I'm
So
looking,
we'd,
and that's few and far between. I mean, the amount of times we have 3 people out or more on a given day, outside of, heavy vacation time, or, if I have significant injuries or sick time, it runs about 17% on average. So that I have 3 or more out.
so we pay more on salaries.
Correct.
We pay a little bit more on overtime because every firefighter comes with almost a fixed portion of overtime.
They have their own.
But we'd
Yeah.
save on the variable or unpredictable overtime.
Yes, I mean, so we call each position has fixed overtime. That's some of their training costs, et cetera, like that are required. They do all have their own bank of earned time, but that bank of earned time would be offset by not necessarily replacing one for one coming out, so.
Okay. And then you'd have the, I don't want to call it a complete safety issue, but you'd have the issue of just a more complete staff on a vehicle.
Correct. I mean, if you look at the incident, that's been in the news lately, having 3 trucks 24/7, that 3rd truck would have been on scene in order to be initially set up as a RIT team, as a rescue team for the first individuals in, versus having to wait for mutual aid or the volunteer response. And again, I mentioned it the other night, while I am here, there will never not be a volunteer component of this town. We've actually doing very, very well in recruitment on that piece. Retention is always a challenge because people are aging out, but we'd still have a heavy reliance on Company 1 and Company 2, so.
So I guess Chairman Costello's here too, but you're foreshadowing wanting to apply for this grant for 3, plus 1 for a total of 4. The plus 1 we fund ourselves, no grant. And then you want to bring that forward at the most appropriate time to get some of those folks in the academy if you can't find them already trained laterally. And you're asking for, in a way, at some point, doesn't have to be this meeting, could be next meeting, but a nod from this board that we're in favor. And then for us here, we need a plan B, because if we say, oh, yes, that's fine, the grant does not go through, we said yes to the plus, if we said yes to the plus 1, now what? And I think we need here, we have to drop back, ask questions now, drop back, caucus, discuss, come back as a board, and say, okay, we're in favor of 3+1, and if 3+1 should not occur because FEMA doesn't want to give us the SAFER grant, what are we willing to do and when? And that's, so we've got some thinking to do.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I will say, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that since we're here, I appreciate your time, spending the time with the guys on Sunday, speaking with them, watching them train. And I appreciate
Yeah.
Ms.
When
Mazzarella.
I'm here.
Ms. Mazzarella spent some time with the assistant
Yep.
chief as one of our liaisons over this weekend. Again, having a similar conversation. So I always talk to Ed.
We always talk to Ed. So it's good, we put on, you'll see on our agenda, there's fire department liaison roles. We put those on a long time ago when we had a big understanding gap. We didn't understand the board, not this board, a couple of years ago, didn't understand what drove overtime, what was going on, and we put those liaison roles in, and we said to two people, can you get a little closer, attend fire commission meetings, just get a little closer to the ground to understand, and then bring that understanding back here when we have a discussion, be it in caucus or be it in open session, be that, bring that extra understanding to the table, and they've done that, right? And I think that's a good thing.
I think it's been beneficial, absolutely.
And and just for the public, we also we try and do it annually, but have a meeting with, and we did with you two, the two chiefs, when, once a year, and we break it up, 3 of us go, and then another 3 of us go at a different time, so we don't have a de facto meeting, and we have some one-on-one, we talk about the challenges, what's going on, how's everybody doing, we talk about recruitment, we talk about volunteers.
And that was
those
one
have
of,
been
that
helpful.
was one of those things that you had brought up at those meetings, in terms of, that Scott, Assistant Chief and I have been working on, is like,
Yeah.
look at a personnel staffing plan going forward, almost like we look at, for like a capital plan, what's our 5-year projection, where are we looking at, and that's one of the items we've
And
been.
we never
we've been
wanted
working
you
on.
guys to come in here, neither the chair of the commission or the chiefs, to ever come in here, look at this board and say, who are those, who is that one and that? We want to have a relationship where we know one another, and when you come here, you see people you're familiar with. That's ideal. And I think we have that.
Yes, I believe so.
Now it's a matter of just, coming, there's a lot of money involved, long-term commitment involved, coming back and just seeing where we are, and we can't do that on the spot. So we'll drop back and take a look, but I do want to, we do have to guarantee the commission, Mr. Costello and the commission, that what happened with I don't remember exactly 2 SAFER grants being rejected. I do remember one. What happened was it was unilaterally applied for either by the fire department or by the fire department and the commission with no communication to the council or the Board of Finance. It came out of nowhere. We got the award, and then somebody announced it to us and said, guess what? We got this award for 3 firefighters. And I believe it was the collective voice of council and Board of Finance said, you did what? We never discussed staffing. Some conversation like that occurred. And that was years ago. And that's why we wanted to be closer to it. And we know people on social media have said, well, what happens when the grant runs out? Well, what happens when the grant runs out is we keep those firefighters are ours, and we keep them forever. That's the understanding. So if we're going to enter into that type of a long-term staffing expansion, we want to have a say in it and know that that's going to be in our budget. And then and the town council wants the same thing.
And
So
that's the expectation of the grant program.
Yeah, and I'd rather-
Here's a lift, here's a lift for you, and then you're on your own, instead of being reliant on the federal dollar all the time.
So we will need time. So I guess, has the commission approved coming forward with the SAFER +1? So that will happen. So that will come onto our agenda at some point for us to approve.
It's on the town council's agenda for Monday. The town council has to authorize the fire chief and myself have the authority to be looking at it on Monday.
Okay? And if they say yes, okay, But then the Plan B, if we don't get the SAFER grant, that's a different conversation. We have to be prepared for both, and so do they. So,
So if they say yes, like you said in your meeting, then it goes into the budget, right? Their budget, fire budget? What's the next step after that?
The fire commission has approved a budget that
Has it already?
Has one individual in it already.
Oh.
It doesn't actually, it doesn't
Doesn't have
include
the
the
safer.
3 now. I think that would have to just be an adjustment at that point in time
so it
because
has the +1 in it.
it has, the
Okay.
program edition has the +1 in it, yes.
Yeah.
So applying for the SAFER grant is independent of the budget. We need legal approved authority to apply for it. That's a totally different.
And then we have to, and that it's essentially free to us, so it's not a budget item if we get it. It will be,
The
Yeah, one is, right.
the
but
one
three-
is, but
yeah,
the 3 won't be for about 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I said, we put it into the budget, so it's in that line item, and then that revenue comes in and just offsets that, so.
But you were saying in the earlier part of the conversation, we got to be clear that bringing on 1 to every shift, the A, B, C, and D, that's fine. We go from 7 to 8. But we're still not at the staffing levels you believe you need. That's just an incremental, nice incremental step to get there, but not, by no means does that close the gap.
It does not close the gap. Incremental is the way to go. Well, was the way to go. I want to past tense that if we've been doing this for several years now, 1s or 2s here and there and looking at, balancing the need of the department, balancing the need of the taxpayers, the impact on the mill rate would have been less versus, if I was coming before you right now to do what we need to do to staff the stations appropriately and asking for 21 firefighters today at a tune of about $3.5 million. I think the shock and awe factor of that would kind of sink my boat.
Yeah, and on the flip side, the town keeps growing, so
Yeah.
they keep putting.
And
up buildings.
that also comes, if I had come to you and asked for 21 people and was like, yes, okay, yeah, we're going to give you the 21 people because we had a windfall, that goes to the conversation of the fiscal cliff item that we all talk about.
Yeah.
Because then you have 21 people at the same time that can retire at the same time. So then you're looking at brand new people. The infrastructure and logistics alone for us to train them and get them onboarded would be quite brutal, as he says.
Anybody else want to add to the, Chairman, do you want to add?
Well,
You got to get to the mic because everybody's watching on the camera. Thanks for being with us, Chairman. Costello.
Good evening. So I would just say, I would just say that doing it in an incremental fashion helps with how the department matures. I don't think we can have, if we're taking on all entry levels and we don't have any luck with the laterals, we're going to have a large group within our department that are all basically the same age. When people retire, we need to have people ready to take leadership roles. And if we have a large group of, say we did get 12 or 21, if they're all basically the same age, we have a problem with our succession plan. So that's why I'm in favor of steady progress in terms of bringing people on. But I think incremental is the way to go, not only for the mill rate, but for how the department's going to mature. That's really all I have.
You gentlemen have anything to, anybody want to say something? Appreciate you being here.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, my name is Michael DeFeo. I live at 96 Skivview Drive in Sullyton. A little bit about me. I joined the Sullyton Fire Department in 2017 as a volunteer. I was here for 3 years, and I got hired in a town up north. And through the SAFER program that the town got, I was able to come back and be hired as a full-time firefighter here in the town that I grew up in and continue to live in. So being hired as a firefighter through the SAFER grant program is a significant milestone, not just for an individual, but for the community as well. The SAFER grant is designed to help local fire departments hire and retain firefighters, ensuring that there are enough personnel to respond to emergencies and protect the public effectively. For those of us who were hired through this program, it is a unique and rewarding experience. First and foremost, it's an incredible honor to be chosen for that role that directly impacts the safety and well-being of others, especially in my hometown. Every day we are entrusted with the responsibility of not only battling fires, but also saving lives and providing critical emergency services. Being a part of the team that works together in high-pressure situations builds a strong sense of camaraderie where trust and teamwork is the foundation. The SAFER program reflects a commitment to addressing critical staffing shortages that many fire departments face. It helps ensure that the fire departments can adequately respond to the growing demands of our communities, especially in times of crisis. For me, it's a chance to be a part of the solution, helping to bridge the gap and improve fire protection and emergency services. Ultimately, being hired through the SAFER grant isn't just about securing a job. It's about contributing to the legacy of the fire service and playing an essential role in keeping our communities safe, and sense of purpose that makes the work incredibly fulfilling. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Lieutenant, anything? Okay, thank you guys for being here. We will,
If
Oh.
you wanted to address the second
Oh,
item,
the-
that
the-
was an add-on to the agenda.
let's motion that on. We only have a few
got about
minutes
4
before
minutes.
we have another.
While he's here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
let's go ahead. We'll move on that one. That's the $20,000.
Think
Right.
you need a vote to add it to the agenda?
Motion and maybe a presentation by.
Okay, we need a motion to move the item up, the transfer from the stipend account to the vehicle maintenance account for $20,000. Do we have a motion to move that item up?
It's in addition to the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Add to the agenda.
Second it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, brief us on that, and we'll take action on it.
Yeah, so real quick, the vehicle fleet, as you know, it is rather large, but and it's expensive to maintain, but it's aging as well. So our ladder truck, obviously, we have a brand-new ladder truck that we acquired through ARPA funds. We replaced our 2000s, not replaced, but put our 2006 into reserve status. However, during the point in time that apparatus was in service, we've had an additional approximately $20,000 worth of unplanned steering and mechanical issues with that vehicle to repair. And then we've also had one of our oldest engines had a $5,000 engine repair that caught us off guard. So we're looking at about $25,000 that was not in our forecast. I ran the budget report today. Right now, we're at about 80% expended on our vehicle maintenance budget. I have a bunch of bills sitting in a folder waiting to be paid with this transfer, some other additional encumbrances. So that's, we're just running in a shortfall. It's an unanticipated shortfall.
What's a stipend account?
Stipend account covers volunteer reimbursement,
Okay.
the career stipends for EMT and stuff like that, and some training expenses.
Forgot what that was. Okay, we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of $20,000.
Motion seconded by Mr. Pocock. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right, that carries. Thank you, Fire Department, everybody, for being here with us.
Thank you very much.
If we have any questions, we'll reach out. And now we have to go to an executive session on, what?
Asking for 8:10, I just got an update.
8:10 is
Heard
fine.
another-
No, we're going to carry on till 8:10. They asked for a little extension, people dialing in.
Yeah, we can do it in 10 minutes.
What?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Christina just brought to my attention, we kind of skipped by the item, Roman numeral 5, number 3, the review of the contingency budget line item. If you just wanted to go through that.
Sure. Let's go through, and then we got to take 9,000 off it. Or 9, yeah, for the
Well,
dog.
yeah, exactly, we'd have to add to these figures are now going to be
Yeah.
off a little bit.
Okay, let's go through it.
All right. Obviously, it's the same report that you get every month. The top portion is the summary of what's happened up to this point in time. We had, prior to that action of $9,000, we had $10,000 on the agenda already, which you're going to see when you get to the manager's memos. So that would have brought you to 72,738. Got to add 9,000 to that. I'll let Christina do the math on that because I'm not good with numbers. The second portion of that is the departments and lines that have received those transfers up to this point in time. The largest one, of course, you probably remember last month when you did the contingency transfer for the early voting to the elections department. And then there's some other smaller ones. And the third section of that, if you will, is just a quick summary of what's left. We started the year with a little $1,075,000. what we transferred out, 72,738 up to that point in time, plus another 9,000, would have got us $1,002,262, which will, of course, come down by $9,000. Squeeze it in while you had a couple.
So just under $1 million remains.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, if I, Mr. Chairman. if
Yeah,
I may,
please.
When we were doing the budget, we increased the contingency.
We had, I don't have the budget document, I'm sorry, Wayne. We do detail it in that budget. It's like a pale blue color for the 24, 25 fiscal year. But yes, we do sort of try to show the readers what made up that amount. A very large portion of it was for the early voting unknown, if you will, because that was quite an unknown thing. But we also had a couple of other items in there as well.
Because historically, it's been about 600,000.
Well, it depends on how far.
Normally, historically, it was 850.
It was 850, that's right, John. Mr. Chairman's got a very good memory, yeah. And then it was been,
It lowered one year because we were
This
trying
year,
to squeeze.
And it fluctuates because there's, when there's contract negotiations going forward, we have to budget for those.
And I thought that's one of the reasons we.
correct.
We haven't taken out any.
Well, that's a different line item. though,
Here it is
Alex.
here, Wayne.
Alex is correct. Alex is correct. It's in the contingency budget, but there's two line items in the contingency budget. That was out of a different line item.
Here
That-
it is, here it is.
Different one than this one.
850. can hit.
Okay, 50,000 for utilities, the normal 850, and then we increased it another 175.
Thank you, John. I had forgotten about the utility. We,
And Joe found the page.
Yeah. thank you.
But we're still waiting for the 175 to hit us then.
Well,
Utilities, that's,
we'll probably see that as the year progresses, and especially get through the cold months. It's been relatively warm, so, I mean, I don't want to say warm, but, you know,
Except for the last-
as compared,
yeah, right.
except for the last week. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Almost.
A lot of that had to do, because we have to pay as well, the charges that Eversource and down in the southern part of the state, United Illuminating charge for this public benefit charge that's on everybody's bills, that's jacked everybody's bills up to creation. We have to pay that as well. So that's a big, that's a nasty component, and it's a bunch of nonsense, but
Okay, so I feel better that we.
But we still have to
put
pay
money
it.
in here to
Yeah.
take what we
So-
thought was coming.
so far.
Good, thank you.
But I do think we will be, you know, probably Mayish, probably.
Thank you,
Well, it'll be Christina.
thank you.
okay, let's see if we can go quick. We got a few minutes before we have to break for the executive session. Let's take it quick. Okay. Sewer Committee report.
Sure, miss me. Yeah, nothing we discussed coming forward will be affecting the general fund.
Public Works,
We meet next month.
okay. Open Space,
Yeah, our meeting got canceled.
okay. Self-insurance,
Self-insurance, through the first 5 months of our budget, we are under budget by 541,000.
keep it there. That's-
Keep it, that's it.
All right, economic strike, anything?
No, no meetings.
Okay. All right, there's no investment report. Fire Commission, I think we've covered that with having the fire department here. Any other subcommittee, anybody else go to a committee meeting or anything? We want to bring it forward? Okay, we talked about the fire department. We know that they're going to apply for the SAFER grant, get permission from the town council, SAFER grant +1. +1 will be in the budget. If town council says, okay for the SAFER grant, then we're going to be aware that in a couple of years, if we get it, we get it. I think we have to be prepared here for Plan B. If we don't get the SAFER grant, what do? We do the +1? Do we do something more? Got to talk about it. Okay. Any public communications? Sue?
Susan Zabahansky, 28 Working Street. So I just want to, when I've been looking into the whole fire department thing, there's some stuff I found that tends to get left off. Number one, we always exclude the volunteers when it comes to talking numbers that we have available to fight fire. So that's the first thing. And we keep saying that the town's growing, but per the town census, or it hasn't been. It's really not growing. It was like 0.5%. I think it was like 300 people from 2020 to 2023 when they did the last census. So, I mean, it's negligible. The other thing I want to bring up is that, and I have nothing against the fire department. This is going to be a tough budget season, and I'm always here advocating for less spending, as little spending as we can do, because there's people hurting out there. I work for community services, as I said. I see the number of dogs being dumped because people are losing their housing in town. So just be conscientious, get what we need, but be conscientious of some of the rumors that I think are flowing, like the town's not really growing as, we claim it is, as far as the number of residents and homes in town. The other thing is, we don't take into account the volunteer often. We don't take, they were just discussing the number of staffing, and volunteers weren't included in that conversation. And the other thing is, if you look at the firefighters' the chief's annual report, the number of calls has virtually stayed level. So if you look at, actually, the last report, they had declined a little bit. Not enough to consider, to make it considerable, but the number of calls have actually declined. If you can look at that report every year, it's on the town website, so I was able to pull it up and look it up. The other thing is, they keep comparing us to Wallingford. I've heard that conversation multiple times. Well, Wallingford has double the staff. Well, Wallingford has their own EMS, town-run EMS, which brings in revenue, and with that revenue, they were able to hire more firefighters. So they have firefighters who are trained as paramedics. I talked to the This is open.
That's
yeah.
inaccurate.
Yeah, it's open communications.
I spoke with the town of Wallingford and got their salaries, number one, because someone was saying that our firefighters don't make as much. They make way more than Wallingford firefighters. And they do have EMS that is town-run, and some of their firefighters are EMS and paramedic trained. And that was how they were able to increase their staffing. I spoke to them. So I purposely called them and had conversations, and they sent me over contracts, firefighter contracts. So, we can't, comparatively, well, if you actually compare the number of residents, they actually have 2,000 more homes in Wallingford than we have, even though we have the same square footage and the same population. They have 2,000 more residential units. So that also, obviously, if you have 2,000 more residential units, then you're going to need more firefighters. So it's just some things that you're hearing, and it's, not cleared up. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And obviously, I'm always advocating for, let's, think about the taxpayer, because that's really what your job is to do, to get the town running efficiently, but also keeping the taxpayer in mind who has to fund this. We keep getting increases, everything's increased. We just talked about the electric bills, the water bills in town are increasing, the mill rate's already increased. And, there's people on fixed incomes. Southington has 20% population of seniors, which is more than Wallingford, more than a lot of towns, actually. And those people are on fixed incomes, and it's difficult. So I just want to, I'm always advocating to be diligent, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Any more public communications? This is the time, gentlemen, because you don't come all the time, this is the time where we allow the public to just come up and speak, and we don't go back and forth. So if employee or resident wants to speak, certainly the chair, if anything to say, you're welcome to come to the microphone. What? All right, just put them on hold for a minute, we'll get through this. Okay, Lieutenant.
My name is Lieutenant Lucas Martin. I've worked for the fire department since 2017. This is my first full-time job. I got on the job when I was 20 years old. Very thankful to be here throughout the years and seen so much change that's happened throughout this department. We went from one department, or one firehouse to two, and now we're in three. And we're evolving with the change that's happening in this department, and it's a good thing. But, you know, people talk about the amount of calls we do, and like, it is increasing. If you look at the numbers correctly, it's out there. And we had great conversations the other day. You saw what we do. And, you know, people do get emotional about this thing because it involves our families, involves the people we go back to. And it's, you know, we talk about numbers and that Wallingford has double the staff we do or whatever. But, you know, we talk about the staffing. Did that cause that incident the other night? Well, it kind of did, because you think about it. If we had, say, like the chief was saying, that third engine company on scene that night, they would have been there in that time frame to help those guys in that difficult situation. So it's not about like, you know, if we're not growing or we're not growing. It's a matter of, like others have said, it's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. So I just want to be that voice of, you know, I've been in that situation where you arrive with only two people on a truck. Actually, the guy in the back, he was my driver for one of the fires last year, and it was just me and him. I got off, and, you know, you're by yourself, and you have to be mindful that you don't have those other people coming. So it's something that I've been through, and, you know, we're not doing this just to be like, hey, we're going to pad our numbers and have all these trucks and all these people. We're doing this for a reason, because we've been in those situations. There's the standards that back up these NFPA 1710 and the numbers why we're saying we need this many people, because people have paid for that in blood. You know, there are people's lives that have been affected. And I can't even imagine if I was on that scene that night where these guys, you know, almost lost their lives on Christmas Day. You know, there's families that are looking forward to their family to come home. So I just want to put that out there, that it's not it's a matter of not if, but when. And we're not doing this just to say, you know, we're to have more people on trucks. We're doing this because it's a safety issue. That's why. So I just want to put my 2 cents out there. I wear this department on my sleeve. I care a lot about this community. We do this for a reason, because we care about the public the most, and that's why we're in this business. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And-
We have to go to executive
And thank you
session.
for your time the other day.
So, any more public communications, or we're good? Okay, thank you. We have to break to executive session for legal matters. The time is 8:13, and we need a motion to go in to executive session for legal matters.
Motion to go into executive session.
Motion is,
Okay, where are we in the agenda, Mr.?
okay, we've come out of executive session at 8:37 PM, and motion was made by Mr. Stanford, seconded by Mr. Pocock, to come out of executive session. We are now right at the point where we're in administrative business, and I'd like to read the consent agenda and then ask for approval of the consent agenda, all 5 items. The first item is an appropriation for $2,700 to special revenue of the Highway Department for loss damage insurance claim. The second one is an appropriation $35,000 even to the general fund for police overtime coming from a grant. The third one is an appropriation for $5,253 special revenue fund for the police canine supplies. The next one is $127,945 from the general fund for Board of Ed operations. These are tuitions they collected. And the last one, number 5, is $100 special revenue veterans program supplies. I'd like a motion to take all of those in totality.
I make a motion to approve the.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on any particular one?
So these are all monies that have been received already, and we're just putting the money back into the budget.
Yep. And the school one is normal. I know some people have questioned it and called me. The school one is normal. They collect money for tuitions. They collect money at times for building rentals. And the money goes into the general fund, and we have to appropriate it back. It's just normal business. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. A motion for all 5 items in the consent agenda carries 6-0. Next one, there are 5 administrative items. First one, departmental transfer, $50,000, general fund, town attorney, corporation counsel for legal fees.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion?
And this is, you mentioned this is going to be a final bill?
This will be a final bill.
No one's gonna hold it against you.
Don't let him bully you, Alex.
Further discussion?
And you're able to transfer it as opposed to a contingency, so kudos for that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Number 1 carries 6-0. Number 2, department transfer, $10,000, general fund, environmental issues, ground maintenance.
I make a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Mazzarella, seconded by Mr. Stanforth. Discussion.
Could you just
So this is for the landfill that was on Old Turnpike Road. Had a vendor through an RFP process who committed to. They didn't show up.
Is there any repercussions we can do against the vendor that didn't, who's contributing?
We've called around and we believe they underbid everything and just gave.
Sounds about right.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Number 2 carries 6-0. Number 3 is a departmental transfer for $3,000 even for the town manager vehicle allowance.
Motion to approve?
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Where'd you go, Florida?
No, this is coming from my conferences to my expenses.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Number 3 carries 6-0. Number 4, departmental transfer, $1,000, general fund, human resources department for advertising.
I make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, made by Mrs. Mazzarella, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Pocock. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Number 4 carries 6-0. Number 5 is a contingency transfer, $10,000. General fund, it's heart and hypertension stipends. We have a motion to approve.
Approve for discussion?
Motion to approve from Mr. Stanford, seconded by? Second by Mr. Bedoin. Let's go into discussion on heart and hypertension stipends.
Background?
Yeah, what is a stipend for heart and hypertension?
So pre-1996, firefighters and police officers were deemed in the line of duty for any heart conditions and a multitude of other conditions. After that, workers' comp kind of switched over. The town of Sullyton has, in the past and historically, quote-unquote, settled those claims, meaning we provide typically health care for the worker and their spouse for the rest of their lives, and we provide them a small stipend. In this case, the employee had some significant issues. Agency, which our counsel, Tony Sheffy, said have the money to cover town share of a spouse. ask less money from you because we're, just for your knowledge, this is second to last. Mr. Daly is the last.
So all these people are retired under heart and hypertension, and only one employee remains who could settle under this plan.
After this one that we've already agreed to settle, but we need.
This is a new retirement, this one?
This is somebody who did retire recently and has some issues.
Okay.
Which made it a little bit more expensive for
Okay.
us.
This is a one-time, this payment, that's it, we're done? Settlement, if you will.
This is a full-
Health insurance, where does that come from?
Budgeted. It's budgeted.
Another line item within that heart hypertension.
Who
sheet.
handles
Oh,
our
I
heart
do
and
remember that.
hypertension
Yeah, yeah.
insurance? It's not the normal self-insurance fund, is it? That's a different plan.
It's the Medicare.
We have just changed, actually, carriers. It was Anthem, what was, I guess, called Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield 65 plan, sort of like a Medicare supplement type of plan. Anthem, as of January 1, 2025, is no longer offering us that plan because we have less than 50 people on it. They did this statewide. So we had to, through our insurance consultant, Joe Spurgeon, with the self-insurance committee's blessing, as you guys remember, as well as the town council's approval, was to go out and try to find another plan, which he did through a local consultant, actually, who's an expert in this field. And they have a place, the product is called Benistar, Benistar. It's like a consortium of insurance products that are equivalent to what we were offering those. I shouldn't say offering, we were being adjudicated through stipulated agreements for the heart and hypertension recipients and to their spouse usually.
Now, is a heart and hypertension claim recipient on, when they come to age 65, they're on Medicare, we pay a supplemental, and then we cover the deductible, something like that?
And when this stop us, I believe I briefly shop it around and get
Much better price. But up until the point, John, when they go up, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, when they go up to 65, is they are covered under our health insurance, our self-funded plan.
Okay.
Yeah, they're part of our self-insurance group. Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Opposed, abstain. This carries 5-0 with one abstention from Mr. Pocock. Okay, last one. Item number 13, transfers in the town manager's authority per the charter for the purposes only, no vote required. $400, a calendar house budget for microfilm and boot allowance. Just an FYI, it falls within the amount. Any other business before the board?
None.
Okay, then we seek our favorite motion at 8:49 PM.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
If I may, Mr. Chairman. I just want to give the board members a heads up. The audit was received late December. I'm putting together my little summary that I normally get out to everybody, Alex, the board, and to the council. I just haven't had a chance to get to it yet, and with the new person coming on board, I want to use that to show Christina what I've done and what she wants to do with it. Obviously, it'll be in her purview. But, so that's coming out. All in all, just to let you know that the unassigned fund balance grew by about $500,000. So, which is a.
I anticipate you'll undo everything you've done, so.
So undo, well, that was my budget. The budget before was, I was here for it, but I did not do that budget. That was a $2 million surplus. Mine was $500,000, so. And I remember you beating me, Mr. Stanforth, beating me up for it. No, but $500,000 in all seriousness, and thank you, Ray. And Wayne is, we jive at each other pretty good, and that was, I know you meet it in good taste. But $500,000 on a $180 million budget we lose that in the rounding, so it's pretty close to break even.
Thank you. And
And I would like to just thank Mr. Bose for his excellent leadership for the finance department over the past several years, and his tremendous help transitioning to his.
Will we see Mr. Bose in February meeting?
That's up to the boss, and I have told Alex that I will stay on until they threw me into Amelia's, Amelia left, and they moved her from her office to the, so that's where they just moved me
you're in
now.
that.
So that's the last step on the way to the glue factory, so I'll be the go one there next.
Well,
No, but-
thank you if we don't see you. You want these? You can keep them, yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
It's-
right.
and welcome, Chris.
And I have shared this with Christina as well, that this board, I really, and the last board too, you folks are such a, I can't even make the comparison between the old board when I was here.
Checks in the mail.
20 years ago. 20 years ago, 20 years ago versus now, you guys take that overall strategic look at things, and I think that's the way I explained it to Christina, versus worrying about every $22 item, which was.
Which doesn't have to feel like, oh my God, what did I get myself
We had-
into?
How many fences
Line by
did you
line.
get this month?
I had a department head, we had a department head who came from that microphone right there, through that swinging door to come at the chairman one night.
Were you on the Board of Finance then?
No, I was sitting here as the finance director. And I just literally, I was a lot younger and nimble, got over the counter and literally just got in his way. There was no television back then and whatnot, but that's what department heads used to have to go through for every like $20.
Yeah.
This board, and I mean this seriously, and I mean it, I really do, to all six of you individually and as a board, and to the last board that I served on. I know there's a couple new folks, but you guys do the job that you're supposed to do, and I, as a citizen and taxpayer, I do appreciate it.
All those in favor of the motion to
Aye.
adjourn? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we adjourn.
And I will,
I have to wipe my tears.
and if the TV's not on,